All right, picture this. What if you could fly from New York to London in less time than it takes to watch a movie? And no, this isn't science fiction. We're talking about the very real promise of hypersonic flight. It's a technology that's kicking off a whole new global race. A race for speed, for power, and really, for the future of how we all travel.
Okay, so let's get right into it. What exactly is hypersonic flight? Well, the official definition is flying through the atmosphere at speeds over Mach 5. Yeah, that's 5 times the speed of sound. We're talking about a realm of speed where, honestly, the basic physics of flight start to get, well, they get really, really weird.
And just to put that into perspective for you, we're talking about traveling more than a mile every single second. I mean, think about that. You blink, and you've basically crossed a city. It's just a mind-boggling speed that pushes engineering to its absolute breaking point.
And of course, that kind of speed means some pretty incredible travel times. That New York to London trip, we're talking under 90 minutes. You could cross the entire Atlantic Ocean in less time than it takes to watch the in-flight movie. Now that is the kind of world-changing potential we're dealing with here.
But here's the thing, right? This whole quest for incredible speed, it's not exactly a new idea. Believe it or not, humans have been touching the edges of hypersonic speeds for decades. The journey to get to where we are today has been a pretty long and, frankly, amazing one.
I mean, take a look at this. It all started way back in 1949 with the bumper rocket, the very first man-made object to hit these speeds, even though it burned up on re-entry. Then you fast forward to the 60s, and suddenly humans are in the picture. Yuri Gagarin hits hypersonic speeds in orbit, and then, wow, you have the legendary X-15 research plane with a pilot inside, officially hitting Mach 6.7. But the real game changer, the moment that leads to where we are now, was in 2013. That's when the X-51 waiver rider proved that a totally new kind of engine, a scramjet, could actually sustain hypersonic flight.
So that raises a pretty big question, doesn't it? If we've been hitting these speeds since the 40s, why aren't we all hopping on hypersonic jets for our vacations? Well, the answer comes down to the absolutely massive, almost unbelievable challenges that come with it.
And here's the core of the problem. At 5 times the speed of sound, the air itself becomes your enemy. You're not just flying through it anymore, you are fighting a violent, high-energy battle against the very atmosphere you're trying to conquer. And this image, wow. It just perfectly shows you problem number 1, heat. Insane, searing heat. What you're looking at is a re-entry vehicle from all the way back in 1959. And that blackened, charred nose cone? That's not from an engine. Nope. That is purely from air friction, from the vehicle literally setting the air in front of it on fire. So let's break down this brutal fight with physics. First, you have that extreme heat we just talked about. Over 1,700 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to melt most metals, by the way. This heat is so intense, it literally tears air molecules apart, wrapping the vehicle in a bubble of plasma. Then you add in this thick, sticky boundary layer of air that creates massive drag, and a shockwave that sits so close to the vehicle it just multiplies the heat and pressure. It's this cascade of destructive forces all happening at once, ready to rip a normal vehicle to shreds. Okay, so how in the world do you build an engine that can survive all that? And not just survive it, but actually use those insane conditions to its advantage? Well, this is where we get into the real revolution, the propulsion.
You've probably heard this classic analogy, and it's perfect. It's like trying to light a match and keep it lit in a hurricane. And that's exactly the problem. A normal jet engine just can't work. The air is rushing in way too fast, faster than sound. It would just blow the flame out instantly. You need a totally different way of thinking about combustion. All right, so let's look at the 2 main engine types for this. First, you've got the ramjet. It's a step in the right direction, but it still is a problem. It has to slow that incoming air down to subsonic speeds just to burn the fuel. But then you have the scramjet. It's short for supersonic combustion ramjet, and it does something that sounds impossible. It keeps the airflow supersonic through the entire engine, from intake to exhaust, while still managing to burn fuel. This is the key technology. This is what makes sustained air-breathing hypersonic flight possible.
And believe me, the innovation does not stop there. Engineers are already working on the next big thing. Concepts like the rotating detonation engine, or RDE. Now get this, instead of a constant, steady burn like a normal engine, an RDE harnesses a continuous, controlled, supersonic explosion that just races around a circular channel. It's a wild idea, but this design could be up to 25% more efficient. That's a huge leap forward.
So, this is where the story takes a pretty serious turn. This amazing technology isn't just in the lab anymore. It's now front and center on the geopolitical stage, and it's kicked off a really high-stakes global arms race that could completely change the balance of military power.
And make no mistake, this is not a small club. You've got the big three key players, of course, Russia, China, and the United States. But the race is getting bigger all the time. You've got emerging programs in India, Australia, France, Japan. The list goes on. A lot of countries want in on this.
Now, when we talk about hypersonic weapons, it's really important to know there are two main types. First, you have hypersonic cruise missiles. These are basically powered the whole way by an advanced engine, like a scramjet. Then, you have hypersonic glide vehicles. These are different. They get launched up high on a rocket, and then they glide, unpowered, all the way to their target at those incredible speeds.
But here's the crucial part. The real danger of these weapons isn't just their speed, it's their maneuverability. You see, a traditional ballistic missile follows this high, predictable arc through space. You can track it. But a hypersonic weapon, it stays low, and it can maneuver, it can change course inside the atmosphere. That makes it a ghost on the radar, incredibly difficult for our current defense systems to track, let alone intercept.
So, where does everyone stand right now? Well, this gives you a pretty good snapshot. Russia claims it already fielded its Avangard system way back in 2019. China has run a bunch of successful tests on its own very capable systems, like the DF-27. And the US? Well, it's pushing hard on dozens of programs, like the Common Hypersonic Glide Body, in what is clearly a race to catch up and close that perceived gap.
Okay, but let's shift gears, because this story isn't just about weapons. The very same breakthroughs, the new materials, the revolutionary engines that make these weapons possible could also completely change the future of travel for every single one of us.
And I'm not talking about some far-off distant dream either. Right now, companies like Hermes and Venus Aerospace are actually developing real aircraft concepts and engines to make commercial hypersonic flight a reality. I mean, this concept art for the Hermes Halcyon, it gives you a little taste of what that future could really look like. Pretty amazing, right?
And that really brings us to the core of it all. Hypersonic technology is standing at a massive crossroads. On one hand, it holds the potential for connecting our world in ways we've only dreamed of. On the other, it could be a deeply destabilizing new form of conflict. So as this tech continues to develop, we're all going to have to decide which path we take. Is this the next great leap forward in travel, or is it the next great threat to global stability? Right now, the race is on, and honestly, the outcome is anyone's guess.